Our top story. The preliminary inquiry into the death of Sammy Yatom last year has begun, but is presently under a publication ban. The lawyer for Constable James Furcello, Peter Brody, has already begun to try this case in the media, telling reporters, quote, "Some of the conduct that took place on that streetcar and that evening in relation to Sammy Yatom is going to shock people, and I have a feeling it's going to change a lot of minds." The video of the shooting clearly shows the youth wielding a knife and advancing quickly on the police officers prior to his death. The incident raises the interesting moral question of exactly when is a lethal use of force justified in self-defense. It is our view that in order to use force in self-defense, the threat must be clearly palpable, and certainly someone rushing at you wielding a knife qualifies. It doesn't take a lot of time for somebody with a knife to do a lot of damage in a close-quarter situation. Some suggested that the cop could have used a taser instead. But if someone is rushing you with a small-edged weapon, it's not very realistic to argue that you should holster your weapon and then grab a new one if you happen to have a gun in your hand. The police gave the young man plenty of opportunity to surrender himself and to drop the weapon, and the individual in question only fired when it was clear there was no alternative. The constable has returned to work for the police services on strictly administrative duties during his trial. Moving on. A drunk 18-year-old girl was rushed to the hospital from 24 Sussex Drive, where a birthday party was being held for Ben Harper, the son of the Prime Minister. This incident underscores the highly toxic nature of alcohol and the danger of binge drinking, which is encouraged by our puritanical culture. We advise our viewers to only drink alcohol in moderation, if at all. Ukraine. Russian troops are engaging in war games on their Ukrainian border as a response to a military operation by Kiev against pro-Russian separatists. Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu said Moscow has been forced to act after the separatist base of Slavyansk was assailed by government forces. The conflict in Ukraine has been ongoing ever since the Russian stooge and kleptocrat Viktor Yankovych was overthrown during the U.S.-backed Maidan protests and replaced by U.S. puppet Arseniy Yatsenyuk. The Ukrainian government has been threatening the use of military force against protesters in the eastern portion of the country for the last few days, claiming they have American backing to take on the pro-Russian secessionists under the guise of an anti-terrorism action. This is the latest in a series of proxy wars being fought by Russian and American elites, stirring up war fever at home and placing countless innocent civilians at great risk, causing some to wonder if the Cold War did indeed end. Yemen. American drones have slain some 68 individuals in Yemen over the last few days, and while no confirmed terrorists have been identified, the Yemenese government was able to ascertain 3 innocent civilians so far among the dead. The family of these victims are set to receive $55,000 in weapons and firearms. This latest rash of innocent civilians murdered by American drones has caused some to wonder who exactly are the real terrorists. In domestic news, the NDP are arguing for a tax increase on corporations, apparently ignorant or apathetic to the market distortions this proposal would affect. McDonald's has halted their use of foreign workers, responding to outcries by the public, which were themselves provoked by the opinion-molding class's war on the temporary foreign workers program. The newspapers, which have relentlessly smeared the program, must be very satisfied that desperately poor people in the third world will no longer be able to receive the meager stipends that workers send home to them, and that our economy will be suffering as a result of this dearth of laborers. The economy is not like a game of Monopoly. There is not a fixed amount of wealth to be divvied up. When a foreign individual comes here to work, this does not take wealth away from anyone in our country, but it does benefit both their employer, the customers they serve, any businesses they become consumers with, and of course the workers and their families themselves. While it may be convenient to escape foreigners for your own inadequacies, the reality is that the more people who come here and work, the better off we all are. The money they send back home to their relatives is the best type of foreign aid imaginable, because it's targeted where it does the most good and costs the taxpayer nothing. This is far better than your typical foreign aid, where the government uses coercion, the threat of force, to take money from hardworking Canadians in order to fund the corrupt politicians and dictators who are making everyone's life hell overseas. That's all for today.